So Nasrin, you've been an Aspire client for several years and you've worked on and off in various different modes, both as a business owner and as a leader. I'm imagining that there's probably some people visiting the website that are considering bringing me on as a coach or maybe enrolling in one of the Aspire programs. Can you say a little bit that maybe would help them in their decision-making process?
Sure.
Some things they might need to know.
Sure. So first of all, I've been a client for a number of years, and Nahid and the group have been a tremendous help. Um, a lot of it is the interaction with the group sessions. So I attend the group calls on occasion, and those are really great. Again, you get the experiences of other people within the group. There's the environment that Aspire creates for sharing is really nice. So it's not threatening, but it gets very personal, and that's really helpful. I mean, you're only going to be able to make changes within yourself if you can dig deep, and Aspire creates an environment where you can do that in a safe environment, which is really important and really helpful.
And what kind of changes can you give maybe an example of a change that a person might make that would be really impactful in their business and leadership life?
Sure. I think one of the tools that I've used within the Aspire community has really helped me with interacting with some of my team members. It's the tool that has to do with giving feedback effectively to others and communicating with others in a way that you're not reacting in a negative way. And that has been really helpful. It's a model. Maybe you can describe it a little bit, where you provide feedback in a positive way, and you don't cause the other person to be
completely defensive.
Right. Which is helpful if you're a manager and you're managing people and you have to provide some feedback. That has been invaluable.
Yeah, we talk a lot about what she's referring to is our dynamics of a reaction model, which talks about how people misinterpret each other and then react, which happens all the time in companies, and then people don't trust each other and they're hiding information from each other, and teams aren't interacting very effectively. But then also we take that and use it to come up with a script almost that you can use to give feedback to somebody else, and I call that the feedback tool. And most of my leaders love that, and they use that all the time because they're always having conversations.
Yeah, and I pull it up every once in a while if I'm getting ready to go into a negotiation meeting or a conversation that I think might be difficult, whether it's with a client or an employee. I'll typically bring back that tool and remind me of the words that are most effective to use, and kind of give myself a pep talk, understand what I'm trying to get across. So that's the thing that I like, is being able to go back, and it's very simple, straightforward. It's not something that I have to study for 30 minutes. It's literally something I can bring up, and in a couple minutes get my mind back on track and get ready to be productive
in your meeting.
Yeah.
And so I have what I think is a very important question, and that is, if you can imagine the difference between going into a meeting or a conversation without that 5 minutes of clarity versus what you get when you have that.
I think it's clarity. I think it's clarity and focus and comfort. So whereas when you walk into a meeting and you have that discomfort, you're afraid something's going to go a certain way, you're very inwardly focused on yourself, and those meetings, those conversations don't end up as well. When you really understand that it's not about you, you change your focus so that it's about the other individual, the other organization, and you start to sort of focus on understanding their point of view and their perspective. You become more comfortable and you're in more control. You end up being able to be in a driver's seat in a meeting where you might otherwise be reacting, which to me is the hugest difference.
And it leads to much better outcomes. I can imagine a huge difference.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly where you want to be. Is you if you're going into a negotiation or something, whether it's about an employee's salary or a business agreement, you want to be in the driver's seat. And sometimes when you're not confident, you don't feel like you're in the driver's seat, when you're not really understanding the cues that somebody else is putting off. But when you kind of have the ability to recognize the cues and recognize your own reactions. Another thing that you've really helped me with is understanding my own reactions. So when I feel that butterflies in my stomach, or I'm getting nervous about, or I just don't feel right about something, you've taught me to stop, think, and understand it from an external perspective versus my own story that's going on in my head.
Yeah, we talk a lot about that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So, Nasrin, one of the things that people visiting the Aspyrre website probably want to know is what makes Aspyrre different from all of those other coaching companies out there. In fact, maybe what makes Nahi different as a coach compared to everybody else. And I'd love to hear your perspective on it as a client.
Okay. So I think for me, and I don't have a whole lot of experience with a bunch of other coaches, but what I really like is the personal touch, the fact that you get very personal to the heart of the matter on one hand, but then on the other hand, you don't rush it. So you keep the environment safe and you let people progress at their own pace. So if somebody has when you're coming up against a roadblock, you can try multiple techniques to get them beyond that roadblock without them feeling like a failure. It's a very positive environment. It's a very supportive environment. You are able to celebrate. I mean, I'm also often very frustrated with how things are going, and as most business owners and leaders are, there's always stuff that's going wrong, and there's always frustrations, and you have a way of pinpointing the little successes that happen over time, and don't beat yourself up over that, because look at what you did here. And you know what, that's a step in the process, and next time you're in that environment, you'll know how to handle it because of this and this. So you kind of break it down. So one of the things, every time I go into an Aspyrre meeting or a conversation, or a group discussion or a one-on-one, I always feel I feel happy to go into it. I feel it's not I never have any dreading, even if I'm like, oh gosh, I'm failing, or I always know that I'm going to come out of it getting something out of it that's going to help, versus feeling berated for. And I'm sure different people react different ways, but I want things to go right all the time, and they often don't go right all the time. And so having to explain that, well, I know I was trying to do this, but that didn't really work out, and this is what happened, and that meeting didn't go as I had hoped. And just having a calming presence that can kind of dig into, well, why do you think that happened that way? And it's almost like you're helping me grow versus pushing me
to go in a certain direction.
To go in a certain direction. Yeah. And it'd be interesting for me to know. I feel like I have been a client for a long time, and I think I am a good client for Aspyrre. But what do you think? I mean, I know you're in the coaching community, and you interact with different coaches all the time. I know you collaborate sometimes. How do you think that you set yourself apart and your company apart from the others?
That's such a good question, because I'm listening to you talk, and as you say each thing, I go, oh yeah, well, we do that. So for example, one of the things that you mentioned is you may come in with a challenge, but we have the opportunity to go really deep and actually pinpoint what's in the way. Sometimes that's a really deep thing, like your fear of being exposed or something. And it's kind of psychological, and it's kind of uncomfortable, and it's not something that you want to talk about when you're feeling stressed and you just need a problem solved now. So that's why we have all the Aspyrre tools. And so I can pretty quickly assess where someone's at and what they need. And if you need to solve something right away, then we have a tool for you. But then when you get in that more reflective place where you kind of want to understand how you might be getting in your own way, or where you might be having patterns where you keep getting stuck, we have the tools to go as deep as you want and untie those knots of what I'm going to call self-sabotage.
Yeah.
So with that said, I would say the ideal client for Aspyrre are the people that are leaders and want to get results, but also are reflective and have an idea that there's probably something inside me in the way I think or my patterns that could change, that could make my life different. And so I'm actually intrigued with this inside out approach.
Yeah.
And I think I'd kind of learn a little bit more about myself, but I don't want to go in and be berated. So that's another thing that's different about Aspyrre, because there are some coaches that are always positive, and then there are some coaches that call themselves sort of edgy coaches, and they like doing that, surprising you with a confrontation that maybe it might hurt a little bit, but it reveals something and it makes you think different. And I don't like that so much. I like to keep a safe environment. But I think we're able to very quickly get to what's at the bottom of it. But we do it in a way that doesn't make you feel like you're a failure or anything negative. So you never have to be afraid or nervous or uncomfortable about going on a call because you said you did something and now you have to be accountable and you have to tell everybody that you didn't do it. We're able to take every situation and turn it into a positive. And if it's a negative situation, we can turn it into a positive growing experience because you're practicing something.
Yeah. I think the personal growth is the hugest thing. Is that so if you want to take Nahi on as a coach, you know, you're going to get the most out of it if you're willing. If you're in a place where you want to grow personally, and growing personally is going to help you be more effective at your leadership skills too. I mean, that's where I've had the most growth. If you're just looking to get a quick fix, you know that's, I don't know where you're going to find that, but it takes work. But it also it's kind of like self-exploration, revelation, like you were saying, reflection about kind of who you are, where your own weaknesses are, strengths and weaknesses are, and yeah, you can get pretty deep.
Yeah,
which I like.
And the funny thing about the quick fix is you can also get a quick fix. For example, if you're going into a meeting in 15 minutes, you can pull out the feedback tool or the interactive tools, and you can kind of get your clarity to go into that meeting. So that's your quick fix.
Yeah.
But
the
at
tools
the same
are
time,
good too. Yeah, I like those tools. Her tools are very, sorry to interrupt, but her tools are very simple. So it's not so complex that it is this methodology that you have to get your mind around and that maybe doesn't quite work for you. It's very applicable to a variety of different businesses. That's another thing that's great, is going into a meeting with people that are in a bunch of different businesses, all using the same tool to get to a similar place in very different environments.
Right, because it's all with people usually, right?
Getting people together. It's all about the people.
Well, thank you so much. I think people visiting the website are really going to appreciate just understanding the experience from a client point of view. So I really appreciate your willingness to share, and have loved having you as a client and hope to do so quite a bit longer.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.